want to start by saying that it's the couch farting. In case I shift in the middle of this and it gets picked up, and then people put it on YouTube, and you know. Okay, I've really made my point. I'm moving on. All right, hey, I'm sitting in beautiful downtown Barstow, California, expounding on my brilliant masterpiece, High-Risk Sexual Behavior. I wanted to do this work for many years. I had songs that I either had set aside or I had already done that I wanted to combine to do a full song cycle about, I don't even know what it was about. I say it was about, it's about the AIDS pandemic, and it is, but it's also just about human frailty and how people perceive themselves empowered by their sexuality when really it's a quick fix and leads to a lifetime of a lifetime's worth of problems and repercussions. And I did this work at the Phoenix Fringe Festival in 2011, and I only did 5 performances of it, and not a lot of people saw it, and I personally think it was my best work. I think it was my best realized performance piece, and I'm saying that like just a couple days before I do another Fringe Festival, and I don't think what I have planned for it is half as good as what I did last year. That's just the reality, and that's art for you. But I had a real potent subject to work with, and you know, and I fired all my guns. So I guess in some way, I think High-Risk Sexual Behavior was like my tapestry, and you know, I had a lot of songs ready to go, and a lot of things that were really close to my heart. Can you control that door, sir? Thank you. And we're in a hotel lobby, and I expect everybody in here to be quiet. And, I open the record High-Risk Sexual Behavior with Baby Let's Play House, which is an Elvis song. But believe it or not, as cool as I want to be and have everybody think I know everything about music, I associate the song with Rachel Sweet, who was a teenage superstar for a minute when I was a teenager. And on her second record, she did a version of Baby Let's Play House, and I thought it was nasty. I thought it was nasty and mean and vulgar, and then I found out that it was an Elvis signature song, and more research, I discovered that Buddy Holly did it even before Elvis. And so with a pedigree like that, I love the concept of a song that sounds like a rockin' song that's real sexy and inviting about, come on baby, come on over, let's play house, but it really says, I'd rather see you dead, little girl, than to be with another man. And there's an undertone of psychosis. And of course I related personally to that and thought it was a booming opening number for the record. And believe it or not, I didn't do the song very much at the shows because I had a limited time at the show and I was still experimenting on different songs. I think that I did a pickup video of the song after one of the performances. I don't think I actually did it at one of the shows, but I did do it for the record, and I'm glad it made it on the record. There were a couple songs that made it on the record that weren't in the show that I'm really proud of. But I opened the show with Germ-Free Adolescence, and Germ-Free Adolescence is from a 1977 record by a band called X-Ray Specs from England, and they were one of the most influential bands in my entire life. The lead singer was, and I'm only isolating her color for a reason. She was a chubby young black British girl with horrible afro and buck teeth covered in braces, and she was this amazing talent, and she brought so much color and life to punk rock, and her songwriting skills were state of the art. And she wrote a song about the future where people are so afraid of a sexually transmitted disease that they're afraid to touch one another. They're afraid to love one another. They're afraid to have any intimacy. And if you think about 1977 and where we are right now, and I always wanted to do this song. I've done it in performances for years, and used it as an audition song during my acting years, and Guy, I performed it at a piano bar. The first time I performed it, I was 15. I performed it. Wow, it's weird what comes back, but I decided to do it for this song cycle, not knowing that the singer Polystyrene was very ill at the time, and Polly contacted me on her own, not knowing I was stealing her song or something, but contacted me on her own and friended me on social networks, and I was like so blown away that one of my favorite idols even knew I existed. And then I was like, that's so cool, I'm doing the record, and then she died. She died during the time I was performing it, and it meant so much on so many different levels. And X-Ray Spex are really a one-record band, much like the Sex Pistols, and those two records alone, and the Slits being an almost one-record band, those three records alone might have influenced me more than all the other music I've paid tribute to in my life, and I was really honored to be doing an X-Ray Spex song, and heartbroken that it became a tribute, because of course we would much rather have her call me after the record came out and say how brilliant and amazing I am, but I'm just really glad she reached out to me before, because that meant a lot. Next song in the cycle was The Will to Live, and I wrote the song back, I don't know when, I think in the 80s, because I recorded it on a record in the 80s that no one ever heard. And every rock and roll singer loves to do fuck off songs, and this was mine, and this was you know, you ruined my life, but I'm a stronger person, and I may never love again, but I'm a survivor, and if you ever get near me, I'll kill you. And then underneath the surface, of course, is that really necessary? And underneath the surface, of course, is this hopefully a vulnerability where everybody sees right through it and knows that I'm a big mush pot. And again, you know, we're bouncing from psychotic love to fear of disease love to I hate you, love. And then I start delving into the precariousness of promiscuity with the fourth track, where I lovingly steal portions of Afternoon Delight, you know, that brilliant sex song from the 70s that the band tried to deny was about sex. What else was it about? Thinking of you's working up an appetite. I'm looking forward to little afternoon delight. Rubbing sticks and stones together to make the stars ignite. And the thought of loving you is so exciting. I mean, hello. Well, anyways, I made sure it was a profound sex song, and I combined it with another sex song I wrote that will keep me permanently from performing in churches ever again. I Don't Like You, which is basically my version of Coyote Ugly. You know, the thing where you wake up the next morning and you're in bed with something and you can't remember the night before, but they're asleep on your arm, and you'd rather like chew off your arm to get away from them instead of waking them and get your arm back, because they're coyote ugly, because coyotes, if they get their foot caught in a trap. So yeah, that was my version of it. It's I Don't Like You, and it's a sex and drugs song, and I'd love to say that never touched my life, but hello. Hello, I wrote the stuff, and I'm not living vicariously through anyone, so you do your own math. And OK Sex, which really was the title track, originally High Risk Sexual Behavior, was going to be called OK Sex, because this was the centerpiece song, and but OK Sex just didn't really sound like a good title for anything, and I tried to incorporate the words high-risk sexual behavior into the song, but nothing worked. So I said, well, I'm going to live with it. But OK Sex really was about a hookup, and there's no way around it. And you know, I don't want to embarrass anybody, and I don't want to say particulars. But let's just say it was about someone who hooked up with someone who, and both of them had diseases. One had cancer and one had AIDS, and when they both discovered the other one had a disease, they both kind of decided to have nothing to do with one another, and because they both reminded each other of their mortality. And you know, the chorus says, "I know I hurt you, I didn't do it on purpose. You really got to believe me, I didn't do it on purpose." And it walks through the elements of, you know, a one-night stand gone sad. And it's followed with "Reaching for the Heaven," which, guy, I'm doing that tonight at tonight's show. It's followed by "Reaching for the Heaven," which was on my first record, and I wrote it when I was a very young Christian, and it's about trying to gratify the flesh to make your soul feel better, and how bad it is. And there is a sexual element to the song, because I make a reference to trying to eat those drives away, and if eating doesn't work, going after the real thing. But by mixing it into this particular set, I made it entirely about sex, just by association. And I feel like the song was fully realized in these performances. I mean, I love the song on the first record. I love what Weston and I recorded, but I feel like the song was a child once, and now the song is all grown up, and that was one of my favorite things to do, was to revisit that and a few other songs for this song cycle, because I feel like I've lived with them longer, and my ministry has changed, and my performances have changed, and these songs deserved another examination. And so I also examined the title track for my second record, "Itch," which was about a person that had gratified their flesh so much that they felt like the only place they had left to look to feel better was to look up to God, but they feel like they're so gross and unlovable that there's no way God would love and accept them. And I hate the fact that I say things like, everybody feels like this at some point, and I see people look back at me with looks on their faces like, well, I never did. And I'm like, well, maybe you should, because if you feel like shit before God and you get before Him, He sure likes to love you a lot. And my Bible says that He's nearer to the brokenhearted, and he who's forgiven of much loves much. So it must feel good to have God get really close to you in your agony and your perception of yourself being so filthy that even the blood of Christ can't clean you, and yet He does. And sadly, it was too late for my dear friend Freddie Church, and I paid extensive tribute to Freddie when I spoke on When Love Dies. But I will say that Freddie's death put such a face on AIDS for me. And most people say that because they only know one or two people, and finally they know someone. For me, I knew hundreds of people. I've known hundreds of people with HIV or who have died from HIV, but for some reason, Freddie really got to me, and Freddie was the song. You know, that's all I can say is Freddie became the song. And I love the version on When Love Dies of Freddie's Dead. I think certainly that's my favorite part of that record. And it was very painful to bring all that back up for high-risk sexual behavior, because in high-risk sexual behavior, it was such a theatrical performance that I could not hide from the agony of the content. So the only way I could sing Freddie's Dead for 5 nights in a row, I had to relive it 5 nights in a row. And I remember performing it going, I don't even know if I can swallow, the cry hurt so bad. And And, you know, I want to say I'm a great actor, but see, acting is acting. This wasn't acting. This was just churning up stuff that, you know, never goes away, because we never get over the people who die in our lives. You know, we try to put them in proper perspective, but they never really go away. And especially someone who dies a horrible death at the early stages of a plague, when, you know, all they do is like stick you in the basement of a hospital and leave you there to die. And that was pretty much the case with people like Freddie and one of my favorite artists, Klaus Nomi. And I did not do anything of Klaus Nomi in this performance, but anyone who knows who he is, and even if you look him up on the internet, you'll see that I do everything in tribute to Klaus Nomi, because so much of my act is infused with the same type of performance art that he was doing back when he was alive. And I wrote a song early in the plague about people with Kaposi sarcoma, that they had spots, and I heard someone make a comment about them, calling them the purple people. I said, wow, that's a nice, charming, cartoony way of saying that you're branded for all society to see that you have the plague. And so I wrote Purple People, and I hid it from everybody because I think it's nasty. I think it's hateful and cruel, and even kind of mean to perpetuate the phrase. But it was said by people who were very loving, and it was just a way to ease the tension around being around people that had purple spots. And I remembered those old commercials. Of course, they happened before I was even born. My grandparents told me about them, about unexplained spots. I had these unexplained spots on my kitchen floor, and I went, unexplained spots is brilliant. So the you know, one of the few parts of High Risk Sexual Behavior Live, when I spoke, I did unexplained spots, and I put purple polka dots stickers all over my body while I was talking and saying, you know, I woke up with these unexplained spots, and I'm so happy because I love purple. And, you know, and I spent the duration of the performance until my final healing and deliverance at the end, you know, looking like someone who was, you know, playing someone at least who had full-blown AIDS. And so to go into Stand Around and Watch after that, again, this is a song that has been part of my tapestry from the start. You know, that, you know, one of the first mature Christian songs I wrote was Stand Around and Watch, which attacks Christians for their complacency with people with AIDS. And again, I mentioned their skin is purple, their teeth are green, and you know, doing this with purple spots on me meant something so different. And again, you know, I've always perceived myself as an actor first and a musician very last. And I was finally enveloping character that was everyone I'd ever known who had been affected by AIDS. And it was so painful and so triumphant to stand there with purple spots and sing Stand Around and Watch. And then I went into this tattoo, which is also from, was it from Itch? I don't even know what record I did. It was on Itch. So funny, I just record them, I don't remember them. But I went into this tattoo, which is a song about regret, and tattoos represent our stains on our soul that we put there ourselves. And to go, to put it in the context of my sexual promiscuity led to me being a purple person that everyone would isolate, alienate, and malign. To open with, you know, it made perfect sense at the time. This tattoo meant so much to me all of a sudden. I loved the song. I loved it when I wrote it. I loved it when I recorded it. I rarely did it live because there were challenges and I was on a schedule. And when I finally started doing it live, it was one of my favorite songs. And in high-risk sexual behavior, again, the content of the invisible soul of the song cycle forces these songs to be about one thing instead of being about everything, which is how I write them. And I painstakingly included This Is My Love in this song cycle because This Is My Love was my my triumphant gay anthem that I wrote about my my last partner, and about me deciding, you know, that I wasn't going to allow the judgment of invisible Christians in my head to stop me from having a life filled with true love and relationship. And again, being that that relationship soured and I was left with, you know, a very noble egg on my face. It was like, well, wow, I'm really glad I did that. See the huge crowds at my shows after doing that, and to incorporate it in this song cycle. And it goes into, the last part of the song is a poem called Kisses that has to do with, you know, I only have a short time with you and a brief period to love you and to kiss you as much as possible, and you know, you're gone a lot, maybe one day you won't come home, and the last time I kissed you was the last time I get to kiss you. And in the context of, I'm representing the people of the plague and they're all dropping like flies, obviously the inference is I'm covered in purple spots, and my partner may or may not be coming home, and the underlying sadness of it is, in real life, you know, it ended as brief as it started, you know, as quick as it started. And again, this piece has like this momentum of sad. And I thought my record, When Love Dies, I always called it the dreary record because all the songs are mournful. But mournful and sad are so different that high-risk sexual behavior, in my opinion, is a much easier listen because, you know, I'm screaming a lot and I'm all over the map. But for the performer, it was so sad that I was like, I don't want to say I was glad that I only gave 5 performances of it, but I was really glad that I gave 5 performances of it, and that I was really proud that every performance went well. And again, I thought it was my best work. Certainly my best work as a musical conceptual artist. You know, I think I pulled off my point best, and my acting was my best. And again, I picked songs because I loved them, and they were so close to the bone. And I spent, you know, an hour every time I did this with songs that were so close to the bone I could hear the scraping when I was singing. And I was like, what am I doing? But again, I don't think I ever felt more alive as a performer. And I followed up This Is My Love / Kisses with Hero Worship, which is a B-52 song that came off their first record. And I've been performing Hero Worship since the day I heard it. I've always done it as a cover song. And the song, I believe, was really written about someone's obsession with Elvis. Like he's lying there dead, and they want to take his belt and take locks of his hair, and it's just never enough. But I think it was written saying about that in any relationship, that it's just never good enough. And I always saw it as, if it were done, and it's funny because I don't do anything slower or softer, but I always thought if the song were done slow and soft, that it would really be a very good song about obsessive love. And at this stage of the song cycle of High Risk, my character's in the final stages, and he's bonkers. And you know, his friends have left him, his people are dying around him, he's got purple spots, his brain's swelling, and you know, his partner just dumped him, and you know, he's just hanging by a thread. And Hero Worship is him snapping. It's a psychotic break. And I am convinced Hero Worship is if not the most beautiful song ever written. It's so high up there. I can't praise the B-52s enough, because they're just this fun, cute, playful, fashion icon party band. And if you go listen to every single one of their songs, there's a thread of seriousness and a thread of even melancholy mixed in with the irony. And I think they're true artists. And Hero Worship is, I remember the first time I heard it, I just got, God, that's so sad. It's so sad and so powerful. And I used to love to go see them perform it live over and over again. And Cindy Wilson, who sang it, she's my friend on Facebook, and I'm like, God, I've known the band since I was 15, and now that I'm 30, I'm still obsessed with them. Still obsessed. I still think they're the greatest artists alive, or as great as the greatest artists alive. And I closed the record with Desire, and what's funny is I fearlessly and lovelessly say that Desire was written for one of the most psychotic people I've ever known. Yet, out of that relationship, I got a really beautiful, hopeful song. And I think all my songs are beautiful in their own weird, scary sort of way. But I also think Tim Burton movies are beautiful. But I think in the most traditional sense, Desire is... I think it's as good as I'm going to get, and it really says that dream and that passion and that hope in your heart was planted there by God. And again, in the context of high-risk sexual behavior, it is for healing and deliverance from AIDS itself. And during the performances, I was ripping off the purple polka dots, and I was being redeemed and healed. And if anyone was at the shows, what I did, and this is available on YouTube. I spoke at these shows. I gave my AIDS rant, and I said what I thought about Christianity and AIDS, and I said what I thought about politics and AIDS, and I said everything I can say on the subject. And well, again, AIDS rant is available. I did not include it on the record. I was torn in 6 places. I was torn in 6 places, and the truth is that I couldn't have recreated what I did, and if I wrote it all down and scripted it, I would have had to edit it down to 5 minutes, because I think I went on for 15 or 20 minutes, and I just figured, you know what, the people that really want to know what I have to say about AIDS and about God and homosexuality and all the shit I've gotten for what I've done, it's all in one place. And I think that's my cue to wrap this up.